Love might not be for me. Hi, I'm a person living in a port town in Mexico. I want to share a story that happened to me 3 years ago, a story that changed my life. Maybe I'm writing this to vent because, even though time has passed, the memories still haunt me. I hope you don't mind reading this. Chapter 1: An Unexpected Connection. 3 years ago, I met a woman on Facebook. There was something about her that intrigued me from the start. Her genuine smile and the way she talked made me feel seen. She lived in another city, but that didn't stop us from talking almost every day. Over time, our conversations became more personal. She'd send me good morning messages, ask about my work, and share little details about her life. After a few weeks, she gave me her phone number and we started talking on the phone. Her voice was warm with a tone that made me forget the stress of my long days working at the port. She was from a small town near mine, and eventually, after much talking, we agreed to meet in person. The excitement I felt when I got her message saying she was back in her hometown was indescribable. Without thinking twice, I got in my truck and drove there. Chapter 2: The First Date. When I arrived, I was surprised to find out it was her mother's birthday. Somehow, I ended up being introduced as her boyfriend. I wasn't prepared for that, but I tried my best to fit in. Her mom welcomed me with a warmth I hadn't felt in a long time. After a while, she and I went for a walk. We found a quiet spot near the river. Under the moonlight, we shared our first kiss. It was magical, the kind of moment that happens only once in a lifetime. That night marked the beginning of our relationship. She accepted me just as I was, a simple, calm man who enjoyed the little things in life. With her, I didn't have to pretend to be someone I wasn't. Chapter 3: The Struggles of Routine. Our relationship grew stronger over time, but it wasn't without challenges. My job was demanding, and I often could only visit her late at night. Even though I tried to make up for the odd hours with thoughtful gestures, I could tell she was starting to get frustrated by how little time we had together. Despite that, she remained understanding. She told me she loved me and that it was all worth it as long as we stayed together. And I believed her. Chapter 4: The Unexpected Silence. One day, out of nowhere, she stopped texting me. At first, I thought she was just busy, but days turned into weeks, and I heard nothing from her. When I finally managed to contact her, what she told me left me in shock. I was kidnapped, she said through tears. According to her, a man had forced her to marry him. I couldn't comprehend how something like this could have happened. I felt a mix of helplessness, anger, and despair. I tried to find answers, but even her family seemed as surprised as I was. Heartbroken, I tried to move on. Chapter 5: Hidden Truths. A few months later, her sister reached out to me. She asked to meet because she had something important to tell me. When I arrived at the cafe, she confessed the truth: the kidnapping was a lie. The reality was that her sister had decided to marry the man because she was pregnant. But the worst part was that this man had dangerous connections and had emotionally manipulated her into cutting ties with me to protect me. That revelation devastated me. I didn't know whether to hate her for lying or understand her situation. Chapter 6: The Reunion. I couldn't resist looking for her. One day, I went to her town and, after asking around, found the house where she lived with her husband. From outside, I saw her hanging clothes in the yard. She looked tired, with a sadness in her eyes I had never seen before. When she saw me, she froze. I walked into the house and there, through tears, she admitted she still loved me but felt trapped in a life she hadn't chosen. I told her I would help her get out of that situation, but she begged me not to. It's too dangerous, she said. Chapter 7: The Final Move. I decided not to give up. After investigating, I discovered her husband was involved in illegal activities. One night, I anonymously reported him to the authorities. A raid led to his arrest, and she was finally free. I thought we could finally be together, but when I went to look for her, she had disappeared. Her sister told me she had left town to start fresh, far from everything. Chapter 8: A New Path. Months went by before I heard from her again. One day, I received a message from an unknown number. It was her. She told me she was in another city, working and trying to rebuild her life. We met in a neutral place, far from our pasts. She had changed. She was stronger but also more guarded. She apologized for everything but also thanked me for never giving up on her. Epilogue: My Light. Today, 3 years later, we're still together. We live in a small coastal city, far from everything that hurt us. Each day reminds me that true love isn't perfect, but it's worth fighting for. Sometimes I wonder if everything we went through was a test. But if I've learned anything, it's that while love isn't easy, it can transform our lives in ways we never imagined. Thank you for reading my story.